And Dr. Andrews, I asked him, was he still a man of the cloth? So I reckon, y'all know what this is. But like my grandfather would say, now that the preacher's in the house, y'all gonna have to straighten up and fly right. Thank you all. Are you having a good time? Are you learning a lot? I am so, this is really to catch me out. Our next presenter, and we are moving right along. We in good time. You all won't get locked up today. And you're so close to the police department, my goodness. Our next presenter is Mrs. Velma Fan. Mrs. Fan is a historian at New South Associates. So let us warm-heartedly welcome Mrs. Fan.
Greetings. We have certainly learned a lot this afternoon. I want to share with you a little bit of wrap-up history and a little bit about what was happening in Atlanta during the jazz era. So I'm going to read from my book. This is a shameless plug, you all. Lest We Forget. And it is available in the back. And you will find that it captures our history from slavery up into the present time. There are documents that you can take out of the book and hold. So it is a tactile piece of work that talks about who we are and our struggles. So it seemed that at least for some in the nation, the good times would never end. It was the 1920s. World War I was over. America had saved the world for democracy. The economy was booming. Jobs were plenty. Model Ts rolled off the Ford assembly line at a rate of 1 every 93 minutes. The 20s were roaring. Gangsters and bootleggers made money. The good folks fought for prohibition. Women gained the right to vote. Even my people, at least those in the urban centers of the North, had a chance to make good. Harlem boasted a Black cultural renaissance. Black intelligentsia, writers, artists, journalists, and more articulated my people's struggle for equality in ways that troubled and entertained Americans. Our music, plays, protest pieces, and novels reflected Black life, the good times, the bad, the racism, the blues. Black folks in Chicago flexed their political muscles, electing the first Black man since 1899 to the United States House of Representatives. Black men gathered in juke joints and Black-owned barbershops, recalling with pride how they helped to beat the Germans. Black women worked in factories, establishing women's clubs, tucked away money to start their own businesses. Delta blues moved up to Chicago. Jazz took the country by storm. Father Divine called for a feeding of all people. Fiery Black nationalist Marcus Garvey proclaimed Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. For the artist, the poet, Harlem, New York was a place during the Renaissance. The men and women who wrote, performed, painted, and analyzed were heralded as new Negroes, educated, bold, and astute, ready to express their culture whether whites approved or not. This new Negro was not really new. Black men and women had been speaking for themselves since they were brought over in chains to this shore. But in the 1920s, they did it with new boldness and pizzazz. Poet Claude Mckay became widely known for the powerful poems like The Lynching and If We Must Die. County Cullen penned Color. Rhodes Scholar Elaine Locke edited The New Negro. Harlem was home to jazz musician Louis Satchmo Armstrong, Joseph King Oliver, composers Huey Blake, and Duke Ellington. It was the era of the crisis, the house organ of the NAACP, and the opportunity, the organ of the National Urban League, which chronicled the gains and struggles of the masses and published works of the great artists of age. It was a period, observed writer Langston Hughes, when the Negro was in vogue. As Harlem was birthing a renaissance, so too was Black Atlanta. But it came with ebbs and flows. The first decade of the 20th century here was marred by the 1906 race riot, when white mobs attacked Black men in Black communities because white women cried rape. The death count numbered over 24 slain African Americans and 5 or 6 whites. Riots on blacks in black communities such as Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Rosewood in Florida, and lynchings throughout the nations, no doubt, are why Billie Holiday would sing. Southern trees bear a strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. Some African Americans left Atlanta. Others stayed determined to create an intellectual, economic, and cultural hub for black people. And it would happen. Atlanta boasted the Atlanta University and its kindred institutions. In 1912 and 1914, Benjamin Davis, that fiery black journalist, race man, and head of the Odd Fellows fraternal organization, oversaw the financing and construction of the massive Odd Fellows office building and its 1,300-seat auditorium. This complex still stands, spanning the entire block on Auburn Avenue. Yet troubling times were ahead. In 1917, a fast-moving fire destroyed more than 1,900 homes in the old Fourth Ward. With segregated housing limiting where African Americans could live, black people made their way westward to Ashby Street and Hunter Street, building homes and communities that became Washington Park, Ashby Heights, and others near the Atlanta University Center. Black Atlanta recovered and moved forward. In 1919, a colored branch of the YWCA was built on Piedmont Avenue and named for Phyllis Wheatley. The Southern Field Division of the National Urban League organized here in 1920. In 1921, Atlanta hosted the National Business League. More than 1,000 delegates attended the conference. Thousands more lined the streets to catch a glimpse of the league's founder, Booker T. Washington, as he was chauffeured down Auburn Avenue. In 1922, the Atlanta Life Insurance Company, owned by Alonzo Herndon, one of the nation's first black millionaires, counted $400,000 in assets and provided jobs for hundreds of black men and women. Atlanta's black elite established literary clubs and other organizations for social events and to assist the less fortunate. Black colleges and universities churned out leaders who would impact the city, the state, and the nation. Yes, in the 20s, Atlanta, the roaring 20s, were roaring. Businesses, education, and opportunities attracted people, and people wanted to be entertained. Jazz was creeping in. In 1919, Camp Gordon's colored jazz band entertained as white legislators toured the facility. This band played again in 1919 at the Ponce de Leon Park for black soldiers and civilians seated in the colored bleachers. In civilian life, Auburn Avenue may have been the avenue for business, but Decatur Street in downtown Atlanta was the place for getting loose. Bailey Theaters provided the venue. The 81 Theater opened on Decatur Street in 1913. According to One Atlanta, no decent or respectable person would be caught dead or alive on Decatur Street. The 81 Theater was where we saw the best in jazz and vaudeville. In 1921, the Atlanta Constitution announced that Mamie Smith, popular singer of the colored race, and her original jazz hounds would entertain at the Auditorium Emory with other colored acts, promising the best in amusement and music. Her records sold for $1 each, featuring such hits as This Thing Called Love and You Can't Keep a Good Man Down and Crazy Blues. 3 years later, the motion picture Shuffling Along played at the 81 Theater for colored audiences twice daily and for whites at midnight. It featured every known variety of jazz and syncopation. In 1926, the 81 toured that, and quoted, a colored jazz orchestra that plays jazz as only a Negro orchestra can, was one of the features of the Shake Your Feet Company. In 1932, the Atlanta Daily World wrote that Fletcher Henderson, the colored king of jazz, would play at the Armory. A mammoth crowd was expected, as this would be his only performance in Atlanta. Performers also began to move to the west side of town to Sunset Casino near Vine City. Headliners include jazz trumpet legend Bernard Flood, J. Neil Montgomery, who taught at Booker T. Washington High School, Duke Ellington, Bessie Smith, Louis Armstrong, Gertrude Ma Rainey, Tommy Dorothy, Ethel Waters, these greats and others helped to usher in jazz in Atlanta. As time went on, I'm sure one could find a group of young ladies out for an evening of fun sitting in the casino. There in the room would be some good-looking men, young professionals, college graduates, gamblers, club owners, zoot suit wearing brothers with wide brim fedoras tilted just so. And if a young lady wasn't careful, she could find herself falling head over heels by good looks, wit, and charm. And I can hear her say, I fell in love with you the first time I looked into them there eyes. You've got a certain little cute way of flirting with them there eyes. Yeah, you make me feel so happy. You make me feel so blue. I'm falling, no stalling, in a great big way for you. My heart is jumping, boy. You started something with them there eyes. Look out, brown eyes, if you're wise. Yeah, see, they sparkle, they bubble, gonna get you in a whole lot of trouble. Ooh, baby, shoo-be-doo-be-doo-be-doo-be-doo-doo-doo, baby. Woo, baby, them there eyes. That was jazz in Atlanta, y'all. Lest we forget. Thank you.
Well, they asked me to talk. They didn't ask me to sing. I'm so glad. And I tell you what, if she go down on Decatur Street looking like that and singing like that, I'm just saying. But thank you so much for sharing your history and your gifts. Wow, and Billie Holiday showed up. Wow, great singing all around the place.